Welcome back to the 3-part series where I rank all of the Battle for Dream Island challenges from over the years. Make sure to go back to part 1 if you missed it. Also make sure to subscribe with notifications on for when part 3 releases. Anyways, let's jump right in. Yahoo, I wanna know. The first contest of the second season also happens to be by far the shortest out of any of them, despite not being the shortest episode. It's Tug of War. No twist, that's all it is. Just above bowling, but BFDIA is not off to a great start here. Get digging. In this episode, each team has to make a stew out of yoil berries, which will then be taste tested by TV. Not much to say about this one, other than that it's the first appearance of Yoil Land during a challenge. Above reveal novum. Insectophobe's Nightmare 3. Unlike the first Insectophobe's Nightmare, there are actual insects in this episode, and unlike the second, there's a challenge to talk about. Said challenge is about crushing all of the bugs in the glass containers that the teams are trapped in. Not bad, putting it above the taco contest from Vomitaco. Zeeky, Boogy, Doog. This episode seems to be somewhat controversial, but I do think the challenge in this one is a novel concept. Each team has to make their own dream island, which will then be judged. Again, that's a good idea, putting it just below lofty. BFDIA 5. All 5 parts of this episode, the last of BFDIA, involve the same challenge. Get to the summit of Yoil Mountain. Oh joy, yet another race. On the bright side, much like the Escape the Volcano challenge, this one is far more visually distinct and varied compared to past races. Between a desert, a snowy area, the bottom of the ocean, David Land, and of course Yoil Land itself. There are even CGI sections in this episode, top of the overall ranking at this point. It's a shame that this was the last of BFDIA, just as this was getting good too. Getting Teardrop to talk. After 4 years and 1 episode of IDFB, the more traditional competition format returns in the first episode of BFB, and that means more challenges. The first is to get a basket and get it to X. A pretty basic one, but it can be looked past considering there are over 30 newbies, so a more basic challenge allows for them to have some kind of a personality to be established. That part won't affect the ranking though, but I'm still placing it above half a loaf. Lick your way to freedom. One thing that sets BFB apart from its predecessors is that its challenges can be a bit more out there sometimes. In this one, 4 decided to recover some of the objects into jawbreakers that they need to be broken out of. It's certainly a unique one, but that doesn't mean it's not a bit boring. Below the taco challenge from Vomitaco. Why would you do this on a swing set? Like last episode, this one is displayed in the title of the episode. Some of the solutions that the objects come up with are fairly novel ones, but the idea itself really isn't that creative. Above Yahoo, I wanna know. Today's very special episode. Today's challenge is to inflate 4's ego, to render 4 in a creative way. It's a good challenge idea, honestly. Even if free food getting first place is kinda... well... Even so, it goes just below Sweet Tooth. Fortunate Ben. This episode may not be very good, but the challenge itself isn't half bad. The objects have to keep the paper planes from hitting the ground. Basic, but it's alright. Above reveal novum. Just keep in mind that I'm ranking the challenges, not the episodes themselves. 4 goes too far. After 4 gets killed, Donut takes over and he gets to choose the challenge. Said challenge is what I like to call Twinkle Tag, since it is essentially a game of tag, considering whoever has the twinkle, i.e. whoever's it, after 3 hours causes their team to lose. It's a good variation on tag nonetheless. The liar ball you don't want. This one can kind of be compared to soccer. I mean, each team has a goal, and there's a ball, except said ball is a jawbreaker that has loser inside. Basically, this challenge is to not be the team that have the liar ball in their goal, as the name of the episode implies. It's okay. Above, get digging. Questions answered. This episode's challenge is a quiz show, which seems like a pretty obvious idea for a competition show, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't do this sooner. That said, since it's an obvious idea, that means it's not all that original, even if several of the questions are directly related to BFDI, putting it above the reveal. This episode is about basketball. This episode is also the 40th challenge in the list. The main thing I like about this challenge, which is to wait on the baskets from episode 1 with balls, is the way X came up with it. Other than that, it's really nothing to write home about. Above, bowling. Enter the exit. This challenge, in this episode, is to bring 4 back to life. I was originally torn on whether to include this one in the list, but it was announced in the form of a challenge.
Bring back 4!
So I say it counts. It's not very long though, but it is something completely unique to BFDI, so I'll give it that. Just below get digging. Get to the top in 500 steps. Oh cool, another race. Whatever, it's been a while, so it's fine. Each team has to send an object up the stairs to press a button. It's a fine challenge, I suppose. Below half a loaf is where it goes. What do you think of Roleplay? This is probably the most unique challenge of the bunch so far. Like Among Us before Among Us. Even though the game actually came out first, but I digress. One of the best challenges, to be honest. Above the power of 3. Return of the rocket ship / don't dig straight down. Search for an emerald to ensure safety for your team, and this can include another team's emerald, or even counterfeits. Apparently this was a task so time-consuming that it took 2 whole episodes for the challenge to finish, but that's not really a complaint. The important part is that it's a good challenge. Above barriers and pitfalls. The 4 is lava. The final challenge of BFB before the split was for all of the living contestants to make their way to where 4 was. Due to the lava and the prohibition of dying, they had to get creative. Eventually, the lava is drained and it becomes yet another race. Joy. It goes above hurtful, though. Seems like the challenges have been on a hot streak lately. Let's see how much further that continues. Is what I would say, except we seem to have arrived at the end of Part 2. Remember that Part 3 will hopefully be releasing on October 28th. Along with another video on the 21st, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching!